back to work this Tuesday, but Norway is, of course, still reeling after Europe's worst ever one-man killing spree. Authorities beginning to release the names of the 76 killed last Friday. As an oil-rich nation, a peaceful one, 3.4% unemployment, one where police don't even carry pistols, comes to terms with what's happened.
I get very sad and angry, also who want to kill so many innocent people. I just don't get it.
This is Norway, and everyone was thinking here is peace, but you see, sometimes problem doesn't matter where we are, you know.
It's like basically the 9/11 of Norway.
So, is Anders Behring Breivik, as one columnist put it this Tuesday, a lone right-wing nut job? Or does Europe have a problem? As the population ages and immigrants fill gaps in the workforce, the populist or radical right is on the rise almost everywhere, not just in Norway, but across the continent, with identity proving a hot-button issue that seems too easy to spark hatred. Today in the France 24 debate, we're going to be asking, is it an isolated act or a sign of growing intolerance? With, from Oslo, a member of the Norwegian Parliament, spokesperson for the Progress Party that Mr. Breivik left because he found it too soft. Morton Hoagland, thank you for being with us. Also from the Norwegian capital, attorney Bente Oftedal Rolli, thanks for being with us. Here in Paris, Victor Vidi, General Secretary for the French Socialist Party's youth movement. And from Brussels, Leigh Phillips, reporter for the EU Observer and the EUobserver.com. Thank you for being with us. Later in the show, we hope to be joined by the Norwegian Foreign Minister, Jonas Gahr Støre. And of course, you can weigh in on the conversation, and you have been in droves on the France 24 debate Facebook page and also on Twitter, where our handle here is @FrancoisF24. Now, earlier, France 24's Jeannie Gardula spoke to a member of the Labour Party's youth wing who's recovering in hospital from a gunshot wound to the shoulder. Adrian Prakon was on Utoya Island when Anders Behring Breivik launched his attack. He survived by playing dead.
I was laying down on this rock down by the shore when I was shot. I was actually laying there for the most of this episode, but when he then came, there were 20 people of us there. He killed them almost all. There were just 3 of us that survived because we were acting dead. And I was laying down perfectly still, dead. I could hear him approaching. I could feel the warmth from the barrel. I could hear his breath, and I could also hear his boots. When he was walking around me, that was just a mental and physical body shutdown. I couldn't think anything. I couldn't feel anything. And even when he shot me, I couldn't feel the bullet. I just heard a beep in my ear because I couldn't hear for the rest of the night.
Adrian, just to finish up, Anders Behring Breivik has admitted to these acts. What do you think? What kind of punishment should he get? How will justice be best served?
The best punishment to him is to show that we will not let him have his will at this. We will stand for our democracy, and we will stand for this together. What the court office will give him, I believe it will be the best for the nation, and I believe they're doing the right thing.
Morton Hoagland in Oslo, what do you think is the fate that should await Anders Behring Breivik?
Well, thankfully he has been caught and he is now facing a trial, and we expect him to be given the longest sentence possible, and I don't expect him to see him ever on the streets again in Norway.
Has there been soul searching inside of your party, the fact that he used to be a member of it?
Well, as you said, he used to be a member several years ago. He left the party, he didn't agree with the party, he has attacked the party later. We are very sad and we distressed that he chose our party in the past. We do constant soul searching regarding what we how we behave, and we will, of course, also do it in this case. But I cannot see in any natural sense that whatever we have said or done could lead up to this tragedy. We are a peaceful party working in a democratic way, talking about non-violence and not this kind of hatred towards Muslims, which Breivik felt he had to go out and do this horrific deed.
Morton Hoagland, you told us that now's not the time for debate with other panelists because it is a time that's still a time of mourning in Norway. Let me just read to you, though, a couple of the questions from the France 24 debate Facebook page from our viewers. George Jameson from Ireland asks, does the atrocity in any way change your views towards multiculturalism?
Well, we are a party who accepts that Norway has become a multicultural society. We cannot change that, and we don't want to change it. Norway has evolved during the last decades, and it will constantly evolve. What we want to address is that Norway should stay a democracy, a free and open society, and we have tolerance towards everybody, and we ask everybody who comes to Norway to respect our values, our democracy, and our system and our way of life. And they can have whatever religion they like and whatever ethnicity. That's not the issue. The issue is that they accept our values in this country. So the question of multi-ethnicity, those who believe that we can return to some kind of Norway 100 years ago, they have, that's not an issue for us. That's maybe an issue for some small minority.
And along the same vein, there was a question from Nizar in Montreal. He says, do you believe that there is such a thing as a Norse identity that immigrants can corrupt? And don't you think that racial violence is what corrupts it?
Excuse me, can you just repeat the last?
Do you believe that there is a Norse identity that immigrants can corrupt? And don't you think that racial violence is what corrupts it? Asks Nizar from Montreal.
No, well, there are issues to deal with in every community and with some minority questions as well, but not in the sense that, and in Norway, it's a quite harmonious society in general. There are small issues, and this we deal with in a civilized manner. And the debate relating to integration and immigration in Norway has not been up to this level and this kind of violence which is now portrayed out in its grotesque form. So at least for Norway, I can only speak for Norway, I think we deal with this in a constructive manner, and we will continue to deal with it in a constructive manner. And this is a one man's crazy ideas, and I'm very thankful to see how all Norwegian population now go on the streets and show their support for democracy and the kind of open society we want to continue to have.
All right, Morton Hoagland, I want to thank you for joining us from Oslo here in the France 24 debate. We're going to stay in Oslo because I want to ask Bente Oftedal Rowley what she thinks. You're an attorney, Bente. You work with asylum seekers. Does it ring true what Morton Hoagland just said about how his party is for a multicultural society?
Well, actually, these are, to me, some kind of new tones. I think it's important to stress that a lot of the ideas that was presented from this man who did the killings are similar or even identical with some of the ideas that have been said public, even from the Congress of the FRP party. It was a member of Parliament, Tybring-Gjedde, who actually talked about demographic suicides when he talked about parts of Oslo. And he also proposed that they had to make a limitation of access of Muslims to Norway, and they had to limit very much the access of Muslim immigrants. So this is very strange. I mean, this kind of ideas that legitimate a lot of, you can say, racism and xenophobia in Norway, and it's somehow part of the justification this man had for the killings. I think they will have to challenge that fact and think seriously about what kind of authority do they have in this party.
So do you think Morton Hoagland is being disingenuous there?
Well, he has to know this. He was in the Congress. He also heard Tybring-Gjedde saying these things. Demographic suicide and limit the access of Muslims as they are very violent and they have a not acceptable culture.
Now, Breivik's defense attorney is going to plead insanity for his client. He spoke to reporters a short while ago.
This whole case is indicated he's insane. He said it was necessary to start a war here in Europe and throughout the Western world. So he's sorry that it was necessary, but it was necessary, he says.
Bente Oftedal-Rolli, that brings us to the central question, which is this just the work of, again, as one columnist in the Wall Street Journal said today, a lone right-wing nut job?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. It's been stated that he's been in contact with several ultra-left-wing parties in Europe.
Ultra-left or ultra-right?
Sorry?
Ultra-left or ultra-right?
Ultra-right, of course. He has been in contact, as far as I can see from I think it was Daily Telegraph today. He's been in contact with the English Defeat League and some other organizations as well. I don't think it is true that he has been alone planning this for so many years, as that is rather impossible for human being. He must have had some contact and inspiration, and he has also had what you can call some kind of a normal life, at least till 2007, when he left the FRP party, the Progressive Party. And if he's told the truth, he's been planning this in 9 years. It must even have been when he was the second leader of FRP in Oslo, in Western Oslo. So I think this man is not alone, and I think he has his companions. And I hope, for God's sake, that it's not in Norway. But in any case, I don't think that I can't believe this is one man's job. The job he did, the action might very well be, but the planning was not.
All right. Leigh Phillips, you heard Bente Oftedal-Rolli there. She can't believe it's one man's work. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think it's a very dangerous idea to be suggesting that this is just a lone wolf. There's been a sort of bubbling up of these sorts of ideas, far-right light, if you will, across Europe in the last few years. The big uptick really happened sort of after the economic crisis hit, and as austerity and economic stagnation continue and is ratcheted up, I think we'll probably see more and more of this.
You say as austerity and economic hardship continue. Again, Leigh, we're talking about a country that has 3.4% unemployment.
In terms of the broad European issue, we have to begin looking at the root causes for the big increase in the growth of the far right across Europe. That's not to say that individual examples like this will happen right across Europe, but we're seeing. I was in a village north of Budapest in April, watching members of the Magyar Garda, the paramilitary wing of Jobbik, the far right party there, marching through a village of 850 people, torch-lit procession against so-called gypsy terror. This is not a new phenomenon. This is happening right across Europe. This is just the most extreme example of this.
Victor Vidi, again, the far right. In other places, we could give the example, for instance, of Italy, where the Northern League has polled well long before there was an economic crisis. Does it really have to do with economics, or is this a question of identity?
Well, I think that the economic crisis and the rise of the far-right parties all over Europe are two phenomena that are linked to one cause. There is a crisis in terms of democracy, a political crisis, since the beginning of the 21st century. When you take the example of the vote on the EU constitution in France or in Netherlands, you can see that there is a gap between the political elites and the people. So when either right-wing parties or left-wing party are not able to answer to those questions, then it's other parties, extremist parties, and can rise and use that context to diffuse their idea in the population. And that is the issue we need to tackle right now. It's how to ensure that for Republican parties, left-wing parties and right-wing parties, how to ensure that we maintain a quarantine line with far-right ideas and at the same time are able to propose a real political alternative to the economical politics we are having right now. And what is happening, for example, with Greece, with the fact that Germany and France are not able to react quite fast, that the EU is not able to save one of its country, that you have all the economic markets that are pushing Greece so that
that's gonna spur on this feeling. In a column printed Monday in the Financial Times entitled "Norway Lost Its Innocence a Long Time Ago," staff writer Martin Sandbu, himself Norwegian-born, states the following: that Norway's been marked by a strong element of conformism, with largely unchallenged support for Nordic values and a generous social welfare program. In the words of Einar Ford, the late Labour politician, we are all social democrats. This sort of consensus, Bente Oftedal Roli, that everybody is sort of thinking along the same lines when it comes to what is democracy in Norway, has that perhaps radicalized those who don't think the same way?
Yes and no. It is true that in a way we are all social democrats, or very many of us. But I think it has to do with the fact that some people are not that well off in Norway. Some people do have problems financially, have problems socially, etc. And when you are the poor one in such a rich country, it's very hard to be the poor one. There is a fact that we have beggars in the street now. We didn't have that 30 years ago. It is a fact that we have even public places to eat for people. We didn't have that 30 years ago. And why do we have that? Because there is poverty. And of course, a poor person do not want to be identified with a poor Somalian. It's actually some kind of, however poor you are, you always have a black one lower than you. And then you start to feel something is wrong with the system because I'm actually a quite normal Norwegian. I should have been better off. And then you start to look for easy solutions.
Easy answers. When we come back, Bente Oftedal Roli, we'll pick up on this point. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. The France 24 debate continues.